Hello, everybody. Welcome to Mandry's Music Show. This is a podcast I'm gonna attempt here. I've wanted to do a podcast for a long time. I like being on them. I like listening to them. So I thought this would be a lot of fun for me to do. This is all riffing. It's gonna be a lot of riffing, a lot of conversations. Some of the things I want to focus on: music industry, bands, obviously, different genres, technique, philosophy, possibly show reviews, maybe song discussions, discuss different venues, any apps or training tools. Not really sure how the format's going to work yet. Still kind of figuring things out. In business, this is similar to a minimally viable product. So basically, kind of start things out in the build, measure, learn loop. So right now I'm building it, and then I'm going to measure it, and then I'm going to learn from it, and then I'm going to build again, and then I'll measure that, and then I'll learn from that. So so I'm really excited about this. I'm hoping to have a variety of guests, mostly in the music world. I think I'm going to focus on that. We'll see what happens though, because I do have a lot of other interests. I'm currently business development manager for a local software company, so I've been getting into business quite a bit recently. I love comedy. I love to act, even though I haven't really done too much with that. I'm always trying to make little drumming videos or funny videos. I've been getting a little bit more into video editing and that sort of thing. But I've been blessed, frankly, to be able to play the drums for as long as I have. I'm going on 31 years, which sounds absolutely ridiculous. I'm 32 years old, but I've been doing it my entire life, and I'm very lucky. I'm probably the luckiest person that I know. Not only with my friends and family who've been there to support me through all the ups and downs and sideways and everything else, but I've been very lucky to play with a lot of different musicians. Locally, I've been lucky to open up for some amazing acts like Michael McDonald and Mobb Deep. Those were two different shows, by the way, unfortunately. So I guess to kind of start things off, I've decided to be my own guest for this and sort of lay out what my expectations are for this podcast, and see what happens. I'm sure as time goes along, there's going to be a lot of different adjustments to the recording techniques, the microphones I'm using. No offense to you, Blue Microphone. It's covered in butter because it's been in my kitchen. I've been on this keto diet recently, which is awesome. I actually have my fat coffee right here in the severed cat head in a pool of blood mug, which my dad just asked for it back. And there's not a chance in hell that he'll be getting that back. For some reason, coffee just tastes more delicious out of that bloody head mug. So anyways, there's probably going to be a lot of divergence on this, as you can tell already. I'm a very shiny object kind of a person. Something's nice and shiny, I'm going to start looking at it and thinking about it and asking about it. So that should get into some interesting discussions. I love sports. I love watching sports, really any sport. Grew up playing basketball. Been big into the UFC recently. Been watching a lot of UFC. I like food a lot. Been working in the restaurant world since I was 15 years old. Became a dishwasher and basically still kind of pick up a shift every now and then, or at least get asked to. So still doing that. I like to jump to a lot of different worlds. Again, that's probably the shiny object nature of myself. I like talking to myself, as you can see here. I'm apparently trying to turn it into a thing, but hopefully I'll be talking with other people. So back to the music side of things. I've been very lucky, as I mentioned, to be played to have played with a number of musicians and a number of great bands. More recently, a Billy Joel tribute band. Um, Also, Street Rock Mafia, which was an original hip hop funk rock band. Um, that was a lot of fun. Squall's a heavy metal band. It's in a band called Sinister Saint. It's a very groovy, polyrhythmic, melodic death metal band. To really condense that down, we came up with our own genre. It's called super heavy metal, and it is my buddy Doc wrote the songs. I'm sure he'll be on at some point. Um, Phenomenal musician, amazing composer, great guitarist, wacky, awesome vocalist, and all around intelligent, great guy. He also works at the software company. He's actually half owner. Yeah, and then if you keep on going back, I was in a band Havoc. That was really the first rock experience that I had. I'll never forget, you can actually see this video on YouTube if I ever get to the point where I'm putting up links and that kind of thing, or if you go to chrismandry.com or maybe mandrysmusicshow.com, still kind of working out some stuff, but if you type in my name in YouTube and put in talent show, this video will come up. It was the first rock experience that I had playing live. It was in front of 400 to 500 students in the 7th and 8th grade middle school at Whitesboro Middle School in upstate New York. And it was a life-changing event, for sure. Played one song, there were no vocals. That might have been actually coming out, but we were playing so loud that you couldn't hear anything. And everybody just went nuts. I mean, I still get chills watching the video. I've seen everybody scream afterwards, and literally they were ripping at my clothing as I was walking out, which, you know, for me being an extremely nerdy 7th grade kid that hit puberty a little early and was, you know, otherwise going through some difficult times, that was an absolute life changer for me. And I sort of, at that point, realized that that's what I want to do forever, for the rest of my life. Even before that, I had played music. I had a little drum set since I was, I think, 2 or 3 years old. I remember writing my first song when I was about that age, 3 or 4. When my family would come over, I'd be slamming on the drums and yelling as loud as I could. That first song was I Saw Grandma Mowing the Lawn. It is a classic. There are no other lyrics. There might have been, actually. I might have improvised some lyrics, but that was the main, that was always the goodbye song. As the family left from our family dinners, I would be hitting the drums and screaming, I saw Grandma mowing the lawn. I saw Grandma mowing the lawn. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. But even before that, the way that I got into music was my grandfather. My mom is an excellent musician. My sister was an all-state trombonist. I don't think tromboner. Trombonist. She played a trombone. And she's also phenomenal. She was actually a dual major at Syracuse University for political science and music, which is crazy because I did the music program at Syracuse University, and I did finally get my degree. A lot of people go to, actually nobody goes to school for 10 years, but I managed to pull that out. There was a few years of absence in that, but I was able to finish that up. Actually started out at Oneonta State for 2 years and then transferred over to Syracuse University. And while at SU, I got to play on the drum line for a year, which was great, but my favorite gig there was the Syracuse University basketball team pep band. So with this, I mean, there's only one drummer playing at a time, and you've got, 60, 70 kids, students behind you that are playing. It's you and the conductor, and everyone's following you. and it was truly. I'm sure that this will come up more often as I get some of my friends and other guests on the show, but it was a surreal experience to play in front of 30,000 people and control. Really, it sounds kind of weird, but control that audience through drumming. An example is the "Let's Go Orange" chant, right? So, "Let's go orange." All I do is this, and then 30,000 people are screaming, "Let's go orange." Um, that was incredible. And some of the places that I got to travel, I went down to the Big East tournament down at Madison Square Garden, um, which was phenomenal. I was playing drums at the six overtime game, infamous six overtime game against UConn. That was a very intense experience for me. It was physically challenging, having to play and not really being able to get up and get a drink or do any of that because I was the only person playing drums. And at any point, there could have been a timeout or a stoppage, so you have to be there ready to play, full blast. Um, that was a great experience. I had dreadlocks at that point. I had dreadlocks twice in my life. At this point, I had them about down to here, and I had my face painted orange and blue. It looked like a baccarat table, if you're familiar with that, a couple triangles, and then I had big blackout contacts. And got a picture in the Boston Globe, which is really cool. And it was it was very intense for a lot of people, not just me. I was definitely freaking some people out there. In fact, a couple games later, I think we were playing West Virginia, and we were in the adjacent corner to where we were for the six overtime game, and I could see the camera we were playing. I could see the camera kind of pointed towards me, and I could see up on the big screen of Madison Square Garden that it was focusing on me, and I could see it kind of panning towards me. So I had my eyes closed, and I'm kind of going like this. And right when the downbeat comes, I open up my eyes and look at the camera. I got these big blackout contacts, and you could feel the air inside of Madison Square Garden get sucked out as people gasped. And that was awesome. That really got me going. Sucked the air out of Madison Square Garden. People probably thought it was possessed or some kind of alien, um, which I absolutely love. Also, want to give a fair warning that I will not be censoring any thoughts or language or anything like that here. It could be triple X rated, could be some F bombs, some C bombs. You don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to let it all flow and let people be people. So that was a massive roller coaster around my career, but I still want to talk about how I started playing drums. That was my grandfather, who passed away a few years ago now. He was, I didn't know this till probably my late teens, but he was actually an accordion player in a polka band at in New York Mills. They were sponsored by a liquor company. Um, and he also played mandolin, and he would write out everyone's music. He was amazing with pitch and extremely crafty. In the workshop, he did a lot of like whittling and carving and always repairing stuff. Um, he was an absolute genius. And so the way I got started playing drums is there was a neighbor of his that would work during the hours of the night that he was trying to relax and enjoy himself, and it was usually much later. I want to say probably around like the 8:30, 9 o'clock range, and they would be slamming what he described as basically it sounded like a sledgehammer slamming some metal pieces, and he was getting really fed up with it because it was just very it was rude, my impression, the way that they were kind of going about it and inconsiderate. So what my grandfather decided to do was put me out in the driveway with a bunch of pots and pans and some drumsticks, and I was one or a little less, and just play as loud as I can to piss off those neighbors. And whether or not it worked, I don't know. But 31 years later with a music degree, um, something worked there. It worked for me for sure, and still to this day I love playing on anything I can. Um, I've got a niece and a nephew that I gave this little drum set that my friend Tara actually gave to me. Um, Thank you so much, Tara, for that. They love it, and seeing my nephew who's under a year. Well, at this point, he was under a year. I gave him a drumstick, and well, the first time I could tell that he was really into it is he was crying like crazy, and my parents were trying to change him, his grandparents. And so I came in with my drumsticks and I just started playing and just singing. Completely stopped crying, was just staring at me, staring at the sticks. And then I gave him a stick. They changed him quick. I gave him a stick and he starts playing and everything. And a few months ago, he came to visit and showing him my sister, my brother-in-law, and him around my apartment. And I was kind of playing on my electric kit, which I'm gonna play a little bit later. And he got a stick, and the stick is almost the size of him. It looked like, I mean, at least half the size of him. But he's playing it, and he's doing clean strokes on the cymbal, and using the weight of the stick to swing it into the cymbal. And it was just mind blowing to me to see that. Then he would do this thing where he'd give me the stick, so then I take it and I give him the other stick, and then he'd play with that one. Then I'd give him that stick and he'd give me the other stick, and then he'd play with that one. And then he'd go to give me that stick, and I went to grab it, and he'd go like that, like less than a year old. Oh, I love the guy, Alex. And then my niece, Cameron, I had started playing with her a little bit in the basement of their place down in Washington, D.C. I'd play the big drum set. She had a little drum set, and she liked to go over and adjust all the knobs on my brother-in-law's bass amp, so I'm sure he enjoyed trying to bring that back to regulation levels. But yeah, and she gets she's very musical. It's incredible to see her, even before she was singing the song, just sort of messing around with this like little guitar, and I think she was like 2 or 3 years old, and she's singing the song. She's like, hello, da 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 da, and she almost, what she was saying was gonna go off into the next measure, and then she stopped and came right back on at one. Really has awesome rhythm. She does great in her music classes and everything too. So I'm really proud of them. I'm really happy for them, and I'm really lucky to have them in my life for sure. So yeah, I mean that's basically where I started with music. Got that little drum set, and so I've been skipping around a little bit here. So now about 5 years old, a friend of mine moved into the neighborhood, Anthony Rabia. Hopefully I'll have him on here too at some point. And I basically played music with him for the next, I think 11, 12 years at that point. We would actually record on my boombox in my living room. We record these songs. We'd be like, the next song is called, hit pause. I'd be like, what's the song going to be called? Look around. There's a washing machine. It's called Washing Machine. Yeah, Washing Machine. Hit record, and we just start playing whatever instruments we had around and singing about the washing machine. And the name of that group was Rock 10CA. There was Rock 107 was the local radio station, and we were Chris and Anthony, Rock 10CA. And we actually took those tapes and would walk around my neighborhood and try to sell them. And one person did end up buying them. I feel like we had 2 sold, but I know one for sure. Still got a couple of those tapes floating around. Maybe if I can find some of those, I'll put a little clip someday. But yeah, so from there, basically kind of jammed with him till we got a little bit more serious instruments. I got a real drum set when I was 9 years old. Started taking drum lessons officially when I was 6 in first grade, and again, blessed to have parents that saw that and put me into lessons, and I was able to get in the fifth grade band, fourth grade, and was always kind of uh, I'm not going to say step above, but at a higher level because I started so early. I'm very very lucky for that. I think that starting as early as you can, in the most developmental years of your life, I think has helped me at least become more natural. I think there probably is a certain amount of God given talent, and I think that there's certain things that people are blessed with, but there's no discounting, the environment and having really put in that work. It wasn't work. It was just fun, hearing things in my head and then trying to set up these different tambourines and stuff around me and always playing on those. I think that there's definitely a God given talent, but to be able to find that and develop that at a young age and be able to put in the strokes early, it really really helps to form you. I think even if you get into something like weightlifting too, and you do that at a young age, your body starts to acclimate, and it becomes much easier as you get older. Um, which makes me think about probably my biggest fault. One of them is my patience. I get extremely frustrated, and I'm pretty vocal about that when when practicing. But it's usually the you know when I finally nail whatever it is I'm practicing, that's my favorite thing to play. But it's very hard for me uh, to stay disciplined to do that. It's always been a challenge for me to do that. I'm not good with homework at all, but I've been pretty good with tests, and it's an interesting thing. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's what it is for me. Um, yeah, so that's been pretty much my musical life. As I said, I got a degree in music from Syracuse University, concentration in music industry. It was extremely difficult. Having done percussion and having never really sang in any kind of chorus or really done any pitch work except for trying out for college, really, and having to learn the marimba. My ear was terrible, and it has gotten better. It is something that you can work on, which I didn't think that it was something you could work on, but it has gotten a lot better. It was a struggle for me in college, big time. We had to take ear training classes where you were literally harmonizing with professional opera singers, and it was a daunting task, and it took me a very long time to build myself up to the point where I was able to finish. Um, I actually ended up taking a couple years off, not really quite on purpose. I actually ended up walking to get my diploma, but didn't end up getting my diploma that year, the dreadlock year, because I still had a couple of ear training credits left. So I finished up one of them at SU eventually. It was the only ear training class that I didn't have to repeat, I think. And if you failed it twice, then you were out of the program. Funny story about that, actually. So ear training one, I failed the first semester, and then second semester, the way that the teacher posted the grades was on a sheet of paper on his door, and it had your student ID number and then the grade across on this side. So I went up with a piece of paper and I saw my student ID number, and then I looked across to the grade, and failing was 6 point, I think it was 6.6 at that time. I think it was 6.6. And so it goes across, and I'm looking at it, and it says 6.6. which means that I am out of the music program. And my heart just sank right there. And then I looked at the paper, and it was slightly diagonal. So I had the person's grade um, below me. So then I moved it up to mine, and it was a 6.7. I was able to continue with the program. That was a heart-stopping moment for me, for sure. But got through it. Um, so eventually, I had one credit left, my final year training credit, and I was working as a busser and slowly was moving up. Was kind of told I was going to be in a manager role, but that anytime that I approached the situation, I was told a lot of things in that job. And it was a very kind of dangle the carrot situation, and I was fed up with it. And I had some friends that were down in Nashville I went to Oneonta State with, and they wanted me to come down, so I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna come down. Brought 2 suitcases, had very little money saved up, but made it down there. Actually got a job at a strip club. I was a hollerer, which is someone who sits out front of the strip club and tries to get people in. We got girls here, girls, $10 a piece, 2 for 15 to get in. And people would, I was the only guy wearing a suit. This was in Printer's Alley in Nashville, which is a pretty famous area. This was actually Andrew Jackson's old horse stables, called Brass Stables is the name of the strip club. It was rough. Rough place for sure. Nice people. Rough. And so people would come in and I go, 2 for 15. Come on in, guys. Nude karaoke. That was a thing. That was a big thing, nude karaoke. But what it really was were these poor chicks that they were all, they were doing what they had to do to get through the night. I'll just put it like that. And they would be singing on stage naked. So people would come in after I got them, 2 for 15, sold them on that. And then, usually once a week, someone would kick open the door, look at me and go, "Fuck you, buddy. You really fucking let me go in there? That's bullshit. They don't even have beer. You can't stand more than 3 feet close to them." And I'm like, all right, well, we're open till 4. If you want to come back later, change your mind, get some beers somewhere else and bring them in, because that's what you had to do. There's actually a stand across the street that the strip club also owned that sold beers that you could then bring in. But they didn't sell alcohol there. It was then I ended up bouncing, and it was me. I'm a pretty average, 6 foot tall guy, and the other 2 bouncers, I was little Chris. Big Chris was 400 pounds, and then, God, I can see the other guy. I forget his name right now, though. Top of my head. He's from Connecticut, but he's a country singer guy. God, I can't remember his name. But he was about 6'7", and, I was like the tough Italian kid from New York, even though I'm not Italian whatsoever. But I would slick back my hair and just sit in the corner and just mean mug everybody and act all tough. And then every now and then I'd be like, "Chris, got a problem with this guy over here, you're gonna have to kick him out." I was the emotional bouncer, 100%. Be like, "Hey buddy, you gotta get going. You've been doing too much, you've been drinking too much, you're treating the ladies poorly, whatever it is, you gotta get going." And if they give me any shit, which one time this guy's like, "I'm not going anywhere, what are you gonna do about it, blah, blah, blah." And then fucking Big Chris and my other buddy came up, and the guy's like, "All right, fine, I'll get out of here." I'm like, "Yeah, that's probably the way to do it." Before one of these guys squash you. Kind of felt like Joe Pesci or something. I don't know, but either way, that was a very intense couple of months till I got a waiting job down there. But the reason why shiny objects, the reason why I got into that and went down to Nashville is I had an opportunity to finish up my degree there and get that last year training credit. I looked at Vanderbilt University, but they wanted me to try out for the music program and do a full 2 years, and that was not on the docket for me whatsoever. So I went to Belmont University, which has actually been compared to like the Oneonta of the South. It's awesome school, awesome. I mean, some of the most talented. I remember walking through the halls and hearing somebody singing like the Mariah Carey, the super high Mariah Carey stuff, and I was just blown away that that was even a human being that could make those sounds. It was beautiful. But so I went there and took my last credit. Syracuse accepted it and got my degree. The date was December 21st, 2012. It's the day on the degree, and it was actually supposed to be the end of the world, the Mayan calendar, which sort of made sense to me. You know, it's, I see it as more probably a new beginning. There's definitely probably some energy stuff. I'm kind of into astrology too, or I have been, for better or worse. I know a lot of people break my balls about it. A lot of my closest friends, but um, you know, it's based on math and it's predictable. And you know, I feel like if you know, your body's made up of 80% water, something like that, and you know, if the moon can affect that or control that, let's heard something. Who knows? I'm okay. And if the moon can affect that, you know, the oceans and stuff, and you're made up of that, I'm sure it can affect you too. But who knows? You know, it's interesting. Interesting insights and perspectives from that. But yeah, so back to music here. That's pretty much summary of my life. I love going to shows. Go to as many shows as I can. Super fascinated by bands, especially great bands that can really work the audience and are professional in their approach. 311 is a band that I've been getting into a lot recently, and they kill it live. I mean, they are just, that's almost verbatim. Constantly coming up with new music, been same members in the band. But my heart and soul is heavy metal. I'm a metalhead. I've got this sweet old Mudvayne shirt on right now. Here's a 311 hat. Saw them at Red Rocks in Colorado. Red Rocks. A couple months ago, actually on 420. That was fun. Um, but yeah, so heavy metal is my it's my everything. It's just what I'm tuned to. That's what my whatever is going on, whatever energy I have is tuned to heavy metal. Um, Meshuggah is probably my favorite metal band, but old Metallica, Pantera, R.I.P. Vinnie Paul just passed away a couple days ago. Super influential in my life. His songwriting ability, something that I learned in Nashville too, the power of songwriting. Very interesting. But Vinnie Paul's songwriting, the way that he put the drum parts to what was happening. I mean, there's no other band that really compares to Pantera in my eyes. I mean, there's a lot of great bands. Like old Metallica is, to me, kind of the epitome of thrash. Pantera is just this groovy, heavy, you know, from the depth of your soul type of music. And Vinnie Paul is just he put the groove and the feel into that music that you know, it's nothing really compares to it. The way him, Dime, and Rex all got together and with Phil's vocals over it, it's just the perfect mashup of individuals coming together. The one thing I will say is, I mean, if you party like that, I wasn't surprised that he passed away. You party the way that he parties for as long as you do. There's a lot of stuff. You know, the alcohol may not kill you, but you're putting some damage into your brain cells. And who knows what else is going on there. But it's a tough way to live. Also very fun. So, you know, I don't blame him. Made his choices, and you know, God bless his family, and and everyone. I was lucky to see Pantera twice. It's actually the first show that I ever went to. I was 11 years old. No, it was the first metal show. First show I ever went to was Jethro Tull at the State Fair. My dad brought me there. We used to play Jethro Tull and Genesis, Invisible Touch in his old Subaru. I remember he had a song skip thing in his car and for cassette tapes, which was awesome. And we used to play this one song by Jethro Tull called Overhang, and it's just this massive build-up, and I would play it as loud as I could, and I love that part. So saw that. My dad, both my parents have been huge influences, very supportive. My mom told me a little bit later on in life that she wouldn't censor anything that I wanted to listen to, that she would let me listen to whatever it is that I wanted to, as long as she didn't hear it, especially when it got to Insane Clown Posse, one of my favorites. Especially when you're 11 years old, hearing the things they said, even though I didn't understand them mostly. So my dad brought me to Pantera when I was 11 years old, saw him at the Odd, and that was a life-changing experience. I remember this huge, because you could smoke cigarettes inside, there's this huge cloud of smoke. I've actually never even tried a cigarette, but I love the smell of cigarettes, and I think that's why. Also, the first time I ever smoked pot, and I wasn't sure what it was, but I was kind of sure. I was like, okay, I got it. It was something different, and I could tell that it felt taboo in a way, or illegal. It had something different to it, and that was a wild experience. But they were awesome. It was Cold Chamber, Anthrax, and Pantera, and then from there it was just as many metal shows as I could go to. Always upset I didn't get to see White Zombie, one of my favorites. Absolutely one of my favorites. My first 3 CDs were Green Day Dookie, Offspring Smash, and White Zombie Astro Creep 2000. And that was from when I was 8 to 9 years old. I got those. Born in 86. Actually, now that I say that, I got Naughty by Nature when I was 7, and I had Rump Shaker on a single, and also the CD that came with the Shaq Fu video game for Sega Genesis was my first CD. Shaq Fu. This is so good. Tablespoon of butter, tablespoon of coconut oil, tablespoon of MCT oil, and Utica coffee, cannoli. Absolutely delicious. I'm on the keto diet, which is high fat, no refined carbs, pretty much no carbs at all. A lot of meat and steak. Love it. Absolutely love it. Been down 30 pounds in the last 6 months. Quit drinking for a while. Made a big difference, for sure it did. Still not where I want to be. Hopefully after a couple of years I'll be more, closer to where I want to be. Should probably work out a little bit more than I do. So Mandry's music show. It's funny. Really looking forward to this. I'm probably going to have some theme music at some point. Who knows if that's ever going to happen, but it could. Always looking for ideas and suggestions, so please feel free to reach out, or if there's anybody that you'd like me to have a conversation with other than myself, please let me know about that. I got a pretty good list right now, bounce around in my head that I gotta get down. But I don't know how frequently these will be coming out. Hopefully at least once a week, possibly more, depending on the situation. I don't necessarily want to be confined to this area, my apartment, because it get a little weird, but it'd probably be fine. But if I'm on the road somewhere, or if I meet some cool musicians or cool people that I want to talk to, hopefully I'll be in a place where I can do some kind of mobile recording. One thing that I would like to do at the end of each podcast is do a jam session with my guest. Um, Anywhere from at least 1 minute, and if we're feeling it, go hours. Whatever we have time for, whatever we're feeling, just kind of go with the vibes. Yeah. So yeah, I'll jam out a little bit after this. Probably on the electric kit. Might have to do a little plugging and unplugging. I haven't thought about sponsors or anything like that. It's not really something that I'm concerned with whatsoever. I don't know. There's something about the breaks in between podcasts that were like the long thing in the beginning of a podcast where you say something with all your sponsors, and it's not. I don't know. I just want to get to the meat and potatoes. Maybe there'll be some weird product placement. I don't know. I really have no. I really don't care. What if that happens, it happens. It's cool. I always like making weird things, like weird commercials and that kind of thing. I'll have different ideas bouncing around. So this might be an opportunity for me to kind of put a couple of those in. Hopefully it'll be entertaining. Maybe that'll be a rule. If you want to be a sponsor, you have to do some kind of there has to be some kind of entertainment value to what it is that you have to at least laugh or make an attempt to make people laugh. It's an interesting thought. I should write that down. But I'm not gonna. So I can read music. I've been classically trained, obviously. Was in jazz band in high school, that kind of a thing. But a lot of times too, it's with some more complicated stuff. I like writing it down to see how everything lines up. Very much like like programming a computer. That's actually how Doc started writing music, is by programming it into an application called Guitar Studio. From there, he wrote all these songs that are just phenomenal. I still listen to them to this day, and from there, he actually started getting into programming computers, which is very interesting. So I love music. I think it's a language for sure. People that are from different countries can do this together, and someone else could go, and they talk to each other. I mean, they're speaking to each other. I had an opportunity a few years back to substitute teach, and I ended up in a music class actually, and I did 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And there's a standard curriculum, and we kind of did some stuff. I know the 6th graders, we jammed out with some percussion kind of things, and that was cool. But each class, and this is sort of my, I guess this is my philosophy or thought or theory. Each class, I would ask the class, I said, who here is a musician? And everybody had to take music class, but only a handful of kids would raise their hands. And then I'd say, what is music? And I would talk to them about waves, sine wave, and how that's a vibration, and that everything vibrates. So this table right now is actually vibrating, and no matter what you're doing, you're creating a vibration, whether you're walking, even if a tree or a leaf falls off a tree and hits the ground, it creates a vibration. And that is music, because it's different frequencies. Each note is a different frequency, and the notes in between those notes, or the frequencies in between, your standard type of scale, or standard notes. You get into quarter tones and even more in depth. Those are all vibrations. So really, we're constantly creating music. And we're constantly creating these vibrations, and it's really, how do you control those vibrations? And so I went through this explanation, and then I would say, so who here is a musician who creates music. And then everybody would have their hand up. A couple people still wouldn't. I remember this one girl goes, he's saying that everybody's a musician. Everybody raise your hands. Kids are funny. Kids are funny. But yeah, so that was a really wild experience. And just to get into the philosophy of music and really existence with these kids, and help my brain to kind of get that feedback and to see how the kids felt about that. But that was very interesting. That was a cool experience. But yeah, so what else? Gonna be playing a show. Well, playing a couple sets with some buddies. Haven't played in a while with these guys. The Nasty Midnighters, old college band from Oneonta. Actually won a couple battle bands back in the day. Got to play with Jeremy Wall, who is a professor at Oneonta, a wild guy, and he was a composer and pianist or keyboardist for Spyro Gyra. Who actually, I believe, started in Buffalo, where my uncle went to school. But Grammy nominated, phenomenal musician, gave me some great advice. I had struggled with a metronome big time, and being a drummer, that's you are the timekeeper. That's the thought, but it really is the whole band. I mean, you are all playing together, and I always use my ear. Like if I play to a metronome, I have to play to it. It has to be very loud, and I'm really playing to that metronome and hearing what I'm hearing in line with the metronome. And it was a challenge. I actually didn't think that I could do it for a number of years because I would get so frustrated that I would stop practicing with it. And I'll never forget Jeremy Wall. He's like, man, you just gotta sit down with the metronome and just play with the metronome. Whatever you gotta do, man. Smoke a joint, jack off, whatever you gotta do. Just relax and play with the metronome, and don't stop. Like, solid advice, Jeremy. Solid advice. So I did both those things, and I just would take naps. No, I'm kidding. I play the metronome a lot, and now I'm much more comfortable. In fact, I prefer playing to a backing track or a metronome now. Absolutely, because there's no question about it. A lot of that is confidence too, and me working on my confidence and building that up. One area that I've been very, very unconfident with is singing, and this kind of occurred to me recently too, and I sort of remember this when I was in first or second grade in music class. Everyone went around and if you wanted to sing a solo, you raise your hand, you'd sing a solo for this one thing. So I raised my hand, and I remember singing, and I'm like, yeah, I did it. And then I don't remember who it was. And someone's like, oh, that's so pretty. What a cute voice, or something like that. And I'm like, okay, I'm never going to sing again. Didn't do chorus, didn't do anything with pitch ever. And it's taken me, from that point, 25 years to get comfortable to even try. And I realized that is a confidence issue. And that really most issues, at least for me, come down to confidence. And not being worried about what could have happened. I think there's a certain amount of healthy aspect to that and learning and looking back, but when it debilitates you from trying things or progressing, that ego sits in, that's very unhealthy. So today I'm actually going to be singing a song while playing drums. The notes aren't a problem. The lyrics might be a little bit of an issue. We'll see how that goes. Doing Aeroplane by Red Hot Chili Peppers. So it should be cool. It should be fun. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with this. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm hoping I can have some great conversations, and I'm sure this is gonna evolve. in terms of quality from a lot of different aspects. Uh, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But the key is to start, and I think that I got. Um, hey, just started it. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think it's time to jam out a little bit. I have no idea how long we've been going because this is in measures. So we got 120 beats per minute. I don't want to think about this. Who knows how long this went? I'm gonna start timing these. Time these. Sweet. Yeah, looking forward to it. It's gonna be a great summer too. A lot of good shows coming up. I can't wait to see who comes on the podcast and wants to chop it up and talk a little bit. I actually should say that I've been debating doing a podcast. There's a lot of different things. I like comedy. I like, as I mentioned, business, a few other things, but I think for me, music is the natural step. And it occurred to me when I was driving from Rochester for work back home to Utica, New York, and I gave my friend John a call, who's guitar singer in Nasty Midnighters, and started talking to him. So he said an interesting thing to my other friend. He said, the best way to learn a song is to listen to the song, play it, and then turn off the song and try to play it from memory from the beginning. And so I asked him about that while I was driving, and we got into a bit of detail with it. And I asked him if he charts things, and I was like, man, this is what I should be doing. I should be having these conversations and recording them, and have this be a podcast because I can really I think I can get in depth with some of these musicians based on a lot of my experience and research and that kind of a thing, and yeah, so it's really exciting, and I'd love to have some suggestions. Whether or not I use them, who knows, but please give me all your feedback that you got, good or bad, and hopefully I'll be able to filter out the things that are positive takeaways. So with that, Mandry's Music Show number 1 with your special guest and your special host, Chris Mandry. It's weird talking about myself. And then what is it, third person? Yeah, Chris is a good guy. He likes music. He's been playing drums forever. Not forever. There were a few months there, which I'm upset about, by the way. That 0 to 7 months. Mom and Dad. No, I'm very lucky. Very lucky. So thanks for joining me here. Gonna end it off with a little jam sesh on the old electric drum set. See how this works. All right, guys. Take care. Oh, God. This is the shit I'm gonna have to deal with. Hello?
Chrissy?
Hello?
In the city of Izmir, Turkey, they have a song that goes, that's like their national anthem or something in Izmir, Turkey. It was on TV just now. I was listening to a song from Izmir, Turkey, Mom. My mom's giving me a wicked dirty look. She did not like that song at all.
What, she got something against Turkey?
I don't know. You got something against Turkey, Mom, by the way? Yeah, I don't know. She looks like she does. Listen, I don't know what the status is, but I would love to invite A.O., and my mom would love to see him because she loves him. Sure. Is he available? Is it worth it to invite him?
Yeah, I'll send out a text.
Could you text me his number, too?
Sure.
Because I want to call him personally. constantly and just kind of put pressure on him to come and tell him my mom really wants to see him because she likes him a lot. And she does. I think she has a little crush on him, to tell you the truth.
Well, once you go black.
Oh, Chris, how could you say that about my mother? Oh my God, I can't even look at you. All right, so where's Steve? Does anyone know where Steve is?
Did
I
he
don't
bring
trust
the
him to show up on time with that drum set.
No, yeah, you should bring it over like now.
Yeah, he should. Okay, I'm gonna call him. Yeah, he talked about I'll talk to Big Game. I was gonna bring it last night and everything like that. Yeah, didn't even call.
That was a shock.
Yeah, there's a shock too.
Fucking shock.
He's probably giving himself a shocker up at his house. If you know what I mean?
Probably was.
Yeah, Mom, don't even ask what that is.
Can you go ahead with this conversation in the other room?
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She's mad. She's very mad. So, okay. Yeah, I'll call him now. The truck's on its way with the equipment too. I'm so excited. So.
Nice.
Okay, buddy. And I'll catch you soon. Just call me and text me AO's number because I'm gonna invite.
All right, buddy.
I'm gonna spank him if he comes.
Okay. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm dealing with, basically. You know, these are my best friends, and I love them dearly. Should be a fun time tonight, obviously. You know, good guys. Sick in the head, twisted, but they are the reason why I am who I am today, for better or worse. Jesus Christ. All right. Jam time. Jam out a little bit. First jam out session ever. It's a Roland TD20 SX.